What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So, Survivor Season 49, Episode 10 is here. And listen, not going to bury the lead at all. In my opinion, this is a top 3 new era episode of Survivor. Just hits on every single aspect that you want in an episode of Survivor and makes you just want to get out there and play. I just finished watching the episode here on Wednesday night and I'm still bouncing off a wall. That was absolutely incredible. But we're going to get into the thing. But, over the last couple weeks, we saw Rizzo, Savannah, and Blue Sophie. And maybe you could throw Yellow Sophie in there, Sophie squared, if you will. Kind of taking over the game from kind of the bottom. Yellow Sophie's done, she was on one side of an alliance, but now has kind of been, kind of flipped to the other side. Maybe still kind of playing the middle. But they're kind of slowly taking over the game, coming back up from the bottom. And last week, we saw Alex go home. But before we do jump in, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there. We'll have more Survivor 49 content on the channel, so just make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. So the final 8 arrive back at camp, and Rizzo still with his idol as well, R-I-Z-G-O-D, as he would say, or should I say. Christina has a moment kind of getting back and talking with Steven. Obviously, being left out of the vote, her and Steven were, and, talking about how they went kind of from the top, and kind of knowing everything all the way to the bottom and not knowing anything at all. But the 4 of Rizzo, Savannah, Sophie squared talk about how, next move seems possibly like Steven, given his ability in challenges. But the next morning, Sage and Juwan kind of check in and kind of regroup. Sage tells him that Christina has an idol, who she heard this information from Steven. Now, she shared this because she wanted to get this, this idol out of Christina's hands sooner rather than later. But this sets off a red flag for Juwan because him and Steven have been fairly close in this game. And the fact that he only told Sage, even though they're supposed to be close, was a red flag for him. And he tries to poke around with Steven a little bit to see if he would open up and tell him. He did not. So comes to say that Steven doesn't trust Juwan. After last night, Steven does. Obviously, Juwan was in on the vote. Steven and Christina left out. So maybe Juwan would want him to go. But Christina is having a hard time separating the game from feeling personal. And part of her wanted to go home today. And she channels her mom's advice of, figure out what needs to be done next and keep going forward. Essentially, Christina said that she would use her idol on Steven to try to help get Savannah out. And we get to the reward challenge, and Jeff can tell that Christina's kind of struggling with something not all the way there and asks what's going on. She says she's trying to keep it together, but she opens up about struggling and missing her mom, who she would go to, when at times she was struggling and whatnot. And Jeff asks her to tell him more about her mom. And she's able to talk and have this moment talking about her mom. And amazing job from her, and thankful that she felt comfortable to open up and have that moment here. And, as she kind of talked about, as Jeff kind of talked about as well, having that moment of growth is what Survivor's all about. Like Jeff kind of described it best, like the game of Survivor is what draws you to want to apply and come play Survivor. That's what draws you. But what you really take from it is these, lessons of fighting through tough times and the other stuff you learn about yourself. That's what Survivor is really about. And, kudos to Christina for being able to open up and have that moment about her mom here on the show in a time that she was kind of struggling. But she says, let's keep it moving, ready to get on with the reward challenge. And the winner is going to the sanctuary for burgers, hot dogs, chocolate cake, a nice picnic, if you will, over at the sanctuary. As Jeff would like to say, where good things happen. And the tribe divisions or team divisions, whatever, are going to be Rizzo, Juwan, Christina, and Savannah. And then the 4 S's, Sophie squared, Sage, and Steven. Christina was absolutely amazing in this challenge too. Going from that moment before the challenge to how she performed in the actual challenge as well was absolutely incredible. Her division, her side of the divided tribe, whatever, for this reward challenge portion, they were kind of a little bit behind, which we'll get more to here in a second. But they were kind of behind, and then she had this moment. She's going across the balance beam. She kind of falls over, and she's like, it's for anyone. It's like, oh, oh, you're going in. But all the words of encouragement from her tribe, from Jeff as well. You keep digging through, do it for your mom. She pulls herself all the way up, crawls forward, gets to the mat, moves on to the next portion, and keeps it rolling and gets her tribe back into the game in which they were trailing. An absolutely incredible moment, and hats off to Christina. That was absolutely an amazing moment in that one. But in the end, Sage, Steven, and Sophie Squared do win the reward. Back at camp, Rizzo kind of taking it hard as he kind of had a rough moment in that challenge. Referring back to that, Christina was part of the last group that went for that tribe division. Rizzo was in the first part, and he struggled a little bit getting across the balance beam there. And, he kind of just has a moment. Juwan checks in on him. I mean, they all check in on him, but, just want to see if he's okay, if he wants to talk about it or anything. And he's like, no, just kind of having a moment, like, I'm okay. But Juwan wants to try to go out and catch some fish for the group to try to help. He's like, this is what I would do at home, someone struggling, whatever, I'd pull out snacks and, make everyone feel good. Obviously, don't have snacks here, so I'm going to go to try catch fish. He goes out, he catches a fish. It's a little one, but it's something. It's the little stuff on Survivor, as he says, that keeps it going and keeps things, moving forward here on Survivor. But over at the Sanctuary, Sage and Yellow Sophie talk, and Sage wants to get Savannah out. As we know, she clues in Yellow Sophie on this talk and Yellow Sophie says she's down. And Sage tells her that she has a plan of how to do it. But we head back to camp, and Rizzo, Juwan, and Steven, they start a boy band because why not? 3 boys on a bench. Rizzo says to Juwan, Savannah, Sophie, and Sage that wants to get Steven out, essentially. And Savannah thinks that Sage and Juwan has her back. We cut to Sage. She's like, no. Nope. Sage says to Steven about getting Savannah out, with them two, Yellow Sophie, Juwan, and Christina, they would have enough to get this done. Yellow Sophie and Sage talk about the plan as well. And, Sophie breaks it down basically that she's kind of in the middle of who's going home. She's been kind of working with the side that wants Steven out right now. But then she's also has some relationships and obviously is being including into the side that wants Savannah out as well. So definitely feels like she's kind of in the middle right now, deciding who is going home at this crucial point in the game. And we head to the immunity challenge and really like this new challenge as well. And the winner is a guaranteed spot in the final 7, but thought we were done yet. We have the rice dilemma as well. This time, number going down, I forget exactly. I knew this was kind of the point, maybe a little bit sooner in previous seasons, but, we're down to the final 8, have a rice negotiation. The number that Jeff gave is 3, required to sit out to get the rice. And, no one's really interested, and Jeff kind of asks, Rizzo to kind of break it down, thought process, and Rizzo's like, I hate to burst your bubble, Jeff, and he kind of puts it perfectly. He's like, I can have rice in 7 days. In 7 days, I can't have a 1 in 8 shot at being a millionaire. So, no one really bites. Juwan offers kind of a counter of, how about 2 people sitting out for half the bag? Jeff says no. Nothing comes of it, so we move on to the challenge. And Yellow Sophie catches an absolute roll in the puzzle portion and wins immunity for the second time this season. And we head back to camp, and Sage and Juwan are ready to blow this game up and get Savannah out of the game now that she's vulnerable. Rizzo, Sophie, and Savannah seem confident that it's Steven, and Sage and Yellow Sophie talk, and Sage tells Sophie about Christina's idol. Sage wants Savannah to go home and have the 2 idols flushed in terms of Rizzo and Christina. So she has 3 goals for tonight. We'll see if she's putting the pieces in the right spots to see if she can set this up perfectly for her to accomplish all 3. And Yellow Sophie, she's like, I've been kind of playing this last part of the game kind of in the middle. And she says she needs to pick a side. And she ends up picking a side. She tells Savannah, Rizzo, Blue Sophie as well about the plan of Sage and Juwan to flip and about Christina's idol. Now, Christina's plan is to put all the votes except for 1 on Savannah. Then that stray 1 to go on Rizzo just in case he plays the idol for Savannah. If does, then there's 1 on him. And then she would play the idol for Steven to make sure he was safe as well. But she's scared because she doesn't want to play it and then her be the one that goes home herself. But Savannah is trying to fact check everything, kind of talking with Juwan, talking with Christina as well, and see where everyone's at. And she can kind of tell they're all lying. And she even, it's a reporter in her coming out, and it was fun to see her gameplay in this time. But kind of her, maybe not manipulating, I don't think is the right word, but with Juwan, kind of that's them, oh, that's the first time I'm vulnerable. I guess this is a really big for our, see where our trust is tonight. And then she just straight up asked ask Christina because the conversation strategically just seemed like it was going nowhere. Who are you voting for? And Christina was kind of like taken back, and Savannah's like, who are you voting for? Like, what are the options? And so Savannah using her journalism, tactics well here in Survivor, and can see why she didn't want that to get out there. Obviously, aside to Blue Sophie, but Savannah's extra vote possibly and probably needs to be played tonight as well. So they suggest her and Blue Sophie talk and say, do they just put it on one of the flip floppers and put it on Sage? Now here we go. We're cooking, and then now everything starts to come to see together. You're starting to see the full picture. Sophie's like, what about Blue Sophie's? What about her knowledge is power that no one knows about in this game either? Because she used that to possibly get Christina's idol. More on that later. But Savannah tells Yellow Sophie about the extra vote and the plan as well, but kind of wants to let her decide as well between Sage and Jawan. But she kind of still just wants this thing to go to Steven and get Steven out of the game. But it's absolute madness and a plethora of options going into Tribal Council. And we arrived there at Tribal Council, and a lot of talk about how Tribal is kind of where you come to play and where your game lives and dies. Your dreams come to live and die, essentially. And this is essentially where the game is made. And Christina says, y'all are great liars, and I really don't know where the vote is going to go tonight. And Rizzo and Savannah are honestly performing so well here. If this is a performance, they were the two that were kind of hamming this up, and Rizzo's like, will I dodge another bullet? Or, hey, I know I'm kind of the boy who cried wolf with this hidden immunity idol that's not hidden at all, and he's just been kind of squeaking through each round, not having to play it. Said, or will I have to stand there and hand you my idol? It'll be a game time decision. And we get down to it. Christina gets up, plays her idol for Steven, and then Rizzo plays his idol for Savannah. Psych. It is a fake idol. He doesn't play it. Everyone's like, looking around. Juwan's like, bro, like, play the real thing. No, I'm good. Go on, Jeff. Everyone's shocked, and we get to it, and Savannah playing up to Juwan during the vote, too. She's like to Juwan, did you vote for me? And at first, like, no, like, asks, and then finally flips, and she's like, did you vote? Did you do this? And eventually he's like, yeah, once it gets to the point where it's like you can't lie it off, that much at that point, because what if it goes the opposite way and it doesn't work out? You still need to have that connection, but obviously at that point it wasn't going to. It was going to be one of them going home. But he finally admits it, and she's like, oh my gosh, Juwan. But keep reading the votes, and Juwan goes home. And listen, Juwan's a very likable guy, and sad to see him go. But wow, that was an incredible Tribal Council, incredible episode, and like I said, maybe the best Tribal Council in quite a long time, and in my opinion, episode as a whole, definitely top 3, maybe even higher. Would have to go back and look at everything. I would love to do that before we get here to 50 and look at all these new era seasons, kind of, see the best episodes ranked. Would love to do that before 50 comes out. We'll see if we can get that in here. But another thing there, another layer to it, we kind of hear Rizzo say afterwards that Juwan took his torch when he went up to do it. Everyone was kind of hugging Juwan and saying bye to him and respect, whatever, going out. It was kind of all over the place. So it sounds like he took the wrong torch up there. Hopefully that's not a bad omen for Rizzo to already have his tough torch snuffed prior to anything whatever with Juwan accidentally taking his. But we look ahead to next week. It looks like Blue Sophie may be ready to take a shot at Savannah and Rizzo and saying that I want to go for them. Is that just smoke and mirrors, kind of editing? Or is she actually ready to kind of turn this thing around and go after them and break off from her, 3-person alliance with them too? Sage seems very upset with Yellow Sophie as well, talking about she was smiling the whole time, I'm assuming, during the Tribal Council. But then, is Sophie squared possibly teaming up to take down Rizzo and Savannah? And now kind of getting into this, I guess I'll start at that point with the possibility of, Sophie squared teaming up to take out Rizzo and Savannah. Obviously, Blue Sophie has done a fantastic job of not revealing her knowledge as power to anyone. Obviously, thought she was going to use it tonight. I think that would have made it even more electric. I'm curious if she was going to use it, if it wasn't going to be played. Like, if we get to it and she maybe even had a chance to speak first, if she would have been asked Christina for the idol. But now that we're getting to this point, maybe does she see understand, which I think Blue Sophie's played an incredible game as well. I think Yellow Sophie's played an incredible game as well to this point, but also sees that Rizzo and Savannah are also threats as well that people have been trying to get out for a while. Do they just take that move now that they're at 7? And Blue Sophie's like, hey, I have this, this knowledge is power, and I know Rizzo as an idol. He hasn't played it. He played a fake one. If no one knows about it, she can kind of keep that a secret, use that to get that from him to kind of get him out. Not saying I want this to happen. I just kind of see the framework of that, kind of starting to form maybe a little bit there. But that's definitely something that's still in the game. The extra vote was used tonight. Christina's idol was used tonight. So curious if the idol goes back out there as well. I'm assuming it will. We're down to 7, so you still got, 2 more rounds. Yeah, two, 3 more rounds. What to use an idol? If I can't math right now, but yeah. So if the idol goes back out there, we still have Rizzo's idol in the game as well. Savannah's, or I'm sorry, Blue Sophie's knowledge is power as well. But that's where we're sitting at right now. So I am curious if I don't want to like burst the bubble. I really do hope. I think it would be so cool to have like the final 4 of, Savannah, Rizzo, and Sophie squared, them kind of teaming up at this point to kind of make some moves, kind of coming from the bottom. This last part of the game, or this kind of middle part of the game to this point right now. But I was curious if any of them was going to be like, hey, we got to get the other person out. Like, we can't go to the end forever because it's like we're going to split votes because we made some moves together. I'm curious. I guess I maybe thought that it would be like Rizzo and Savannah. Like they've played a very, different but kind of similar game. And I would say they've definitely been the 2 main targets this whole time. So they're like, hey, we're going, but when we get to 5, like, let's get us to 5. We've seen it a lot during Survivor. Let's get to 5 and then kind of go at each other, see what happens. But, we'll maybe Blue Sophie, who has played an incredible game in her own right, coming from, the bottom of the tribe that she started out on, obviously with, not winning any challenges essentially, and, coming from the bottom and putting herself in this position, navigating her way through the game. Can she just add another check mark to her finale, final tribal council resume and possibly get one or both of them out, secure that with Yellow Sophie as well, who has played an incredible game as well. Obviously now 2-time immunity challenge winner, and think she can continue that stretch as well and compete. She's going to be right there. She's been right there in every challenge as well. So listen, I'm excited. We're coming down to the last couple weeks of this season. I believe we got 3 weeks left of this season. So I'm very excited and really excited to see kind of how if the trend we've seen the last couple episodes continues into the last couple episodes of this season, or if this was kind of the trend for this portion. And then I don't know, I just kind of got a vibe from the preview for next week that things could maybe be switching and swinging a different way for the ending of this game. And the stuff that has felt predictable, or I don't even want to say predictable, but you saw this kind of rise of Savannah, Rizzo, and Blue Sophie coming for this portion of the game. It not seemed obvious, but you could feel it like bubbling and going and flourishing into what kind of happened this episode. And I feel like this was like, boom, this is everything. I just have this feeling watching the preview for next week that, hey, we could be boiling in a different direction for the last couple episodes. Now that we're down to the final 7, couple episodes left as well. But anyway, as I said, in my opinion, this is already, with just a blank look, this is a top 3 episode of the new era of Survivor. One of the top, or tribal councils of the new era as well. It's right up there. Would love to go through the whole list and look at everything and try to get to that here eventually as well after the season, possibly before we get into 50. But another incredible episode this season, really liking season 49 as well. So we got a couple episodes left, but anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.